as the I don't know if this is the right word, but as the conditioning of what it is to be a human, or it gets ingrained in our brain, in our system, that this is how a person is, this is how they look, this is how they function. There's so much conditioning around that, and the brain is constantly retaining everything, you know, everything it's learning, everything it's told. Not everything, but like a lot of it. And it's just absorbing all of this conditioning unconsciously. It just kind of happens. And as there was this kind of falling away, again, it was through emotional work of releasing the story that was here that was leading to this kind of natural falling away of all of this conditioning, you know. I wasn't intentionally doing that. I was actually just becoming aware of how deeply and thoroughly conditioned we are. And so during that time, when I couldn't register the human body anymore, not only as an object, but as my species or something relatable or familiar. All of that was just going, and I would look at the human body and just think, what is that? Like, what am I looking at? It looked strange compared to how familiar and how much I thought I knew exactly what I was looking at. Like, that contrast was so stark that, yeah, it was remarkable. It was really shocking. It was kind of beautiful that you could really experience that sort of difference, I guess. So I think with that conditioning, there was a conditioning of, I don't know, this type of person, that's a bad person, that's a good person. Oh, that's, I don't know, that person's stylish, that person's this ethnicity, this age, whatever it might have been, you know, it was just automatically constructed when you would see a person. But now we're a human body, and now there's just you can't even describe what the feeling is, you know. It's not really beauty, but just to describe, it's just beautiful. Like, every human is just so beautiful. Everything is just so beautiful. I guess this is where, before, when I would hear those who have so-called awakened describe how a toilet is this, poop is this, the thing garbage is this, there's an absolute glory and beauty equal in that. And there was such a stark contrast and difference before, you know, that was like, and this is like, ooh. But yeah, it is true that there is so much more of this foundational beauty. Like, it's deeper than deep. It's beyond. It's just purely what is. It's to the very core and essence, which doesn't have a core. It's not really what I'm saying. And then it's like, it's hard to differentiate. I really have to think about what it was like before and how the mind was constructing things and how it was immensely believed in. Like energetically, it felt real. But that is not separate from this. That is not different from this. That is not apart from this. But experientially, since the perception is only coming from there and it doesn't have clear access to everything, infinity, then it just perceives everything as separate objects. And everything is perceived through actually massive filters. And only when it falls away are you like, whoa, that was so thoroughly ingrained in every aspect of how I perceived everything. You're kind of amazed. And then it's just amazing in every aspect. Like, how did that contraction really form to begin with? And then it's absolute reality. And then the fact that it can dissolve when the body is still alive. And then you seemingly literally go through a death. I guess you could call it a psychological death. You know, my death. And then the body just continues living. It's conditioned similarly. A lot of the conditioning can actually soften and potentially fall away because when there's no grip around it, when there's nothing really giving it too much power, you know, it's not mine, it's not owned, it's not really meaningful, or then it has the potential to soften because this is my guess and theory. I could be totally wrong. Or this could be just a part of it. It's like when there's painful conditioning that is just, you could see that it's kind of running, but it's like causing a lot of pain or discomfort. It'll most likely stop happening. I could be totally wrong. But the energy to maintain that is just not there. But before, it was somehow feeding the identity, somehow validating it, strengthening it, giving it meaning, purpose. It could be a number of things. So now I feel like I'm just looking at a human body, and that's it. This isn't mine. No one's in here. No one owns the body. I do also notice that there is an adorableness to things. Animals are just like extra adorable. Flowers are just extra stunning. even babies, which I'm not a big baby person, I've never really been, you know, except for maybe my nephew who I babysat and he was like, oh, so adorable. But kind of other than that, I never really felt like, oh, babies. But I think this was kind of the first time where I saw this amazingly cute baby and was just like, my heart completely melted. And then the whole idea of growing a human in this body, in a body, and like, what? How's that possible? That kind of just flashed in a second. Wow, that's life, isn't it? That's a miracle, isn't it? That's the unknowable. That's crazy. I mean, just looking at that example and seeing how then, let's say the woman might say, if she's unable to have a child, then she'll think that it's her fault because this is me, this is my body and how it functions, how fertile it is, or how well it can bear a child, that defines me. And if you really think about that, or if you can easily have a child, then you could potentially take a lot of pride in that. And it can add to your sense of identity and, I don't know, motherhood or something. Or even desirability. I don't know, you know, different things. Like, if you actually just take a moment to think about that, it's like, that's weird. That's pretty weird that we do that when simply it's just life appearing that way. It's never gonna look one way. It's never gonna function perfectly, or there isn't really a normal. Anyways, I just thought that was interesting because I'm really not a kid person. Never had that urge and never felt like I was meant to be a mom or anything. And I kind of still don't think it's the case, but you know, who knows? But I just thought it was really beautiful to actually have that naturally come up, because it was probably some conditioning there. Now, if I look at it, there was a lot of probably conditioning of what having a child meant to my life and how it would change my life, and sacrifices would have to be made, or my freedom would be limited somehow, or you know, there are all of these probably unconscious ideas that I thought were absolute truth at a certain point, but now that doesn't really ring true. You know, there's nowhere that I really solidly land anymore, as if like, this is me, this is how I am, I will not change. I can't really say that anymore. There's no desire to. And now it's actually pretty refreshing to be totally okay with the answer, I don't know. I just don't know. And that's kind of always really been the truth. Kind of always knew that to be true. I just felt somehow less than if I didn't have a strong belief or opinion or position. So I just, accumulated everyone else's and then thought that meant I was confident or a better human, a better person, more valued, made me sound smarter or more sure, more certain. I don't know. I just felt bad that I didn't know. Then I started to pretend to really know until it didn't feel like pretend anymore. Then it started to feel real. It started to feel solid. It started to feel stuck sometimes, It's just amazing how that seems to form, but it's not really forming into anything solid. But it feels real. It feels like me.